Welcome to our international podcast, folks. Welcome. Who vex lose? Who vex lose is your face here. Yourself you're vexing with. If you're vexed, that's your business. We out here, folks. We out here. I'm sure. And I'm privileged to have with me co-host
You gotta say my name with an accent.
Charita.
You gotta roll your tongue.
Charita Finance is here. Outside, folks. We outside.
Out and about.
Out and about. We are doing for lunch today. What's on the menu for lunch? That's what you want to know. What's the menu for lunch? And while you're at it, folks, while you're at it, you can let us know how the weather is, where you folks are. You know, we always follow weather.com for weather descent. Charita?
Of course, so that's our trusted and reliable forecast.
Yes.
You know?
Not against the Met people locally. As a matter of fact, a couple of things. You know, but we're happy that you guys are here with us. Weather.com is telling us it's 29 degrees outside, but it feels like 34.
It's not the people that only. They probably lack the necessary equipment to forecast properly. So
Yeah. Could be a multiplicity of things.
yeah, because we know we have bright guys.
Yeah, we
Come on.
do. But we're happy that you guys are here, the bright guys and other folks from around the world. 29 degrees outside in the national capital city. We broadcast live from according to weather.com, but they say it feels like 34. We hope that you guys are well, wherever you guys are, and we hope that lunch, if not completed yet, it's well on the way. Those of you folks who've done your lunch, like at high school, like at primary school, you done your lunch at 10 o'clock. Sounds because you guys are great nonetheless. Welcome. Happy Heritage Month. Happy Amerindian Heritage Month. I don't think they say Indigenous Heritage Month. So happy Amerindian Heritage Month. Yep, got some of the folks in my blood. I'm privileged, folks. Privileged, got all the people in this country in my blood. All 6 were separate to County Douglas.
The Douglas, that's one.
Yep, all the 7 people. Yep. How you folks doing out there? We trust that you guys are well. We're seeing all the usual suspect, of course. Yep. Good to see you. Candeline and the Jit. How are you doing?
And the girl Beatrice.
Beatrice, Beatrice. Yep. Of course, come around the corner very quick. The Bronx man himself.
From the B, Mr. Edward.
Gonzalez.
Gonzalez.
From the Bronx. From the Bronx. Good to have you folks here with us. Yep. Good to see you, beautiful people. Share the live, smash that emoji button, guys. And let me go down. Couple of things we gotta touch on, guys, as we start. We're gonna be talking ultimately about some stuff happening. As you guys know, in the indigenous communities, we're gonna start off on that foot, folks, as is the indigenous folks, our brothers and sisters. It's their month. We're gonna be touching first and foremost.
It's we one.
And some of what's been happening in the community there. But first, folks, a lot happening to reach our relationships these days. Relationships these days, not for the faint-hearted at all.
You gotta know when to let go.
Yep.
You gotta know when to let go.
Tell us.
That's the most important part for me. You know, we have to look at it from every angle, from every standpoint we could. You have to know when it's time for you to let go. You know, you don't be hiding people documents and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
You don't do stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
I may get some licks from my position on that, but whatever. Don't be hiding people documents and all of those things. You know, people want to go, you let them go and give them their stuff. Clean cut exits.
Yep.
But Roy had a plan. Roy had a plan.
I feel you on that one. I can't lie to you. I feel you on that one. I feel you. You know, I learned a long time ago. I think it's my aunt who told me, you gotta know how much to give, when to give, when to stop giving, and when to walk away.
Yeah. And you giving and all those things, you don't try to punish your own self by holding on to people that don't want to be there.
Correct. So for those of you who are joining us, you all got a pretty much a good sense of what we started the discussion talking about this trending issue on social media with Roy. You know, Roy and the heartbreak and all of that. That's what we're following, folks. Yep, yep.
Mm,
This is Roy. He was at the center of this public split. Not
yeah.
a lot of people know when folks enter and leave relationships, but we know that Roy has made other arrangements, you know, other arrangements, Rita.
Yeah, I think that you can.
Mm-hmm.
There's a large discussion here, and even prior to coming on the podcast, we ourselves were having a bit of discussion when it comes to we note a bit of music, if I could put it that way, coming out when it comes to this particular relationship. More so, specifying the age difference between the two persons, and I think Sherrod was the one that's saying, it's acceptable when the woman is younger than the man, but then society have this scourge, this way of looking at it so differently when the woman is older and the man is younger.
It's a bit unfair if you ask me.
Yeah, Sherrod is saying it's unfair.
Bit unfair.
Yeah,
But it is what it is.
he doesn't subject himself to that level of
It's a bit unfair.
thinking. Yeah, adults are adults, right? So that's how sure look at it. I, on the other hand, I personally think that men usually take longer to mature mentally. So, I have my own bias when it comes to how I think
Oh,
about
wow.
it. I do have my
Very,
own
very
bias.
strong bias, if I may add. Very, very strong
Very
bias.
strong bias when it comes
Uh-huh.
to that. I think that men take longer to mature, and especially I would say more so if a man is in his mid 30s, and older. I can see that going down that line, but men in their early 20s and then stuff like that is just
Mm-mm.
nope, negative. I didn't roll. I'm sorry. My mind mature really fast. I think that as a woman being the eldest of my family and so forth, I had a different level of maturity when it comes to women, which I think and nope. Mm-mm. When it comes to 21-year-olds, when I was 21 years old, I was in third year university. I had a daughter, and I was out there getting stuff
Roy is
done
21.
differently. I can remember my 21-year-old counterparts that I went to secondary school with. I saw them and I couldn't have communicate. Couldn't communicate with them well because it was impossible. They were still kids.
Mm-hmm.
They were
Mm-hmm.
still kids, so I believe that there's a big difference there in the way in which people mature and all that. And I hold the same, mind you, I hold the same view when it comes to huge age differences. When it comes to girls, just a 18-year-old girl with a 50-year-old man. It's like, nope. I don't agree with a
You're not
lot
going to
of those.
subscribe to that.
Nope, nope. I am very biased.
Yeah.
I am not, loving on no age. Y'all carry
Yeah.
the carry yourself. So with
Yeah.
the
It'll be interesting to see the research
so,
on that. But, you know, I think when you are that young,
Mhm,
you think you know life. And I can look back at my own life and think about when I was 18, 21, 22, 23. You thought you knew it all. But
mhm.
time is the great revealer. And time said to me, I didn't know a damn thing,
Yeah,
about love or any damn thing else for that
yeah.
matter.
No young boy. A young guy wants to be a young guy. He wants to go out there and be a young guy. Very rarely, and there are some exceptions to the rules, but the vast majority will be like that. So we got to be very careful. And grown
Yep,
women out
yep.
there, you have to be careful with what you invest in, who you invest in, and not only grown women, women in general, people. Let me just come off of the women side of it alone. People, you need to invest in yourself. We need to invest in ourselves, and we need to be secure in our on our own, without having to rely on any other person to be our strength, financially, emotionally,
Correct.
mentally, whatever the
Correct.
case may be.
Correct.
Because when you put yourself in that position, all of those things happen. This is not, I mean, there is that issue training and all of that, but you know how I like to do it. I like to bring the discussion out from a wider perspective,
Mm-hmm.
because this is something that is repeated so many times. A lot of people had gone through that when it comes to relationship breakups. It doesn't happen every day. It probably happens every hour, every minute. so so people are getting their feelings hurt and all that, but it's a process, and I think we need to start teaching young people that it's a process, that you go into a relationship. It's a process that it it's very likely that your first relationship and your first crush or whatever may not be the person that you end up with and spend the rest of your life with and all of that. And it's okay for persons to move on. We have to teach our children, we have to teach ourselves, have that understanding that it's not a crime for somebody to not want to be with you. There's nothing wrong with you if someone doesn't want to be with you. You may have different value systems and all
Yeah.
of that. That doesn't
Yep.
mean that
Yep.
there's something wrong with either of you, but just means that you can't relate to each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you just have to move on. It's simple as that. And just don't be stifling yourself, stifling your conscience and your happiness and all of that. Once you're miserable and reaching to the point that you have to hide somebody's stuff for them to stay with you,
Mhm.
that relationship was already over.
Yeah.
Once
Yep.
once you are at the position that you are hiding a document from somebody so they
Yep.
don't have it because you're fearful that they're gonna leave, then the relationship had was over.
And that's what mature people will tell you, because a
Yeah.
lot of folks think that the relationship ends the day when you close the door, but you
No.
left a long time
A
ago.
long time
You're there.
before. Yep.
Some of these photographs you see with Roy, sad to say, but Roy left a long time ago.
Yeah.
If he ever was there in the first place.
Mm. Yeah, that's very true. There's a lot of there's a lot of young guys out there that go seeking after older women for various reasons. Some of them
Yeah.
just blatantly wicked, um, devious, and all of that. Some of them just evil like that. Some of them just don't trying to get an easy way out and easy access up and all of that. But then there are certain young guys that have a fetish and a thing for big women.
Yeah.
You have to just sort people out. But if they don't want to be there, let them go. You don't want a situation in which somebody gets violent towards you, and not a case of gender-based violence in a house because you were trying to hold on and force somebody to be with you against their will. That's not what we advocate for. So
Correct. Correct. And
right,
we
I
can talk a little bit
prefer,
about that
yeah,
just now.
I
So, yeah.
prefer to see her hurt and crying and screaming on than to read that Roy lost his mind and just went berserk on her.
Exactly. Folks, wherever you're joining us from today, share the live, smash that emoji button for us, and let me go down the road. It's the 1st of September. It's not lost to me as we talk about this, that we have such a chance to reset.
Yeah.
Look at how you did the last month. They got a lot of rights right now, planning
Mm-hmm.
and thinking and so on. How I got left big auntie. Got a lot of big auntie
Mm.
right now. No, they got a ride. They right now looking at the situation and
Mm.
assessing the rise in the life. And the
Yeah.
ride can come and rub their head and say, no, I'd never do that to you.
Mm.
Right? You got a tremendous opportunity as we start a new month, as I have been doing, reassessing how I spent last month. How can I be more efficient? How can I be more productive? What needs to tweak for this new month? It's the first day of September and the first day of the rest of the year, basically, because we'll never have 1st September again for 2022. So why not make the best of it? Some plans got to be tweaked. You got to reset something. You got to refocus, realign some of your priorities, and do what you got to do. I am not going to spend the rest of the year the way I spent the last
Mm-mm.
8 months of the year. No, 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 no. I want to do some things different. I can't wait till New Year's to have resolutions. No, no, no. These issues will not wait for so long. They will not wait for so long at all.
Mm-mm.
Right? So we gotta make the best of now.
Yeah.
The fierce urgency of the moment is what Martin Luther King spoke about. We gotta deal with it now, and don't put off for tomorrow. The folks say what you can do today. So think about resetting if you need to, right? Don't put off. Next month I can do it. Next month I can, right? You gotta be concerned about you. Put on your own mask. First is the airline adage, before you can help other people. Life realizes, we just realize it. So unless we're not strong enough, healthy enough,
Yeah.
right, we won't be able to help folks in this way that we do.
Yeah.
Every day it takes a toll on you, I can tell you that.
And your mental health and mental
It's
strength.
tremendously important.
Yeah, but it appears that dictates your entire being, your physical health. And there's so much research that comes with that to say your physical health is actually connected to your mental health. I think Amanda was speaking about this on Tuesday. And it's very
Correct,
important. I
correct.
did go and do a little bit of my own reading on that. It's like
Yeah.
sometimes you feel like if you were very stressed out and all of that, everything starts happening to you.
Yeah, and people ought to know it's not just isolated to you, because sometimes you feel it's you alone.
Mm.
All of us got these issues we go through. I was faced with some situations quite recently in the last week. My whole neck back was paining right down to the middle.
Mm.
I say, well, this is nonsense here. This is nonsense. I gotta develop different coping mechanism when you're highly stressed. And this is the environment we work in every day.
Yeah.
Every day. I honestly felt I was gonna get a stroke.
Wow.
You know? So it's a real time to reflect on how you've spent the last 8 months of this year and what things you can tweak, whether in a relationship, in a job situation, in your personal life. What is it you can look at and say, I can do this a little better. I can do this a little differently, you know? And it's going to be helpful to you. It's going to be helpful. But share the live, folks, wherever you're joining us from. Smash that emoji button. We got some other issues to discuss with you. The other issue, really and truly, that's similar to this that we've been looking at and discussing is this one, where Quincy Roach murdered Christina Dazel, this young lady. She wanted to get out of a relationship herself with him. And they've come almost on the heels of each other. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't end so nicely for her. I figured she would have loved if she could have been writhing on a bed or on a couch. She'd probably rather that to this fate here.
Yeah.
Right? But it was too late for Christina.
Yeah. And I did say, when I did say when I look at this particular story that and I did urge women that's in these sort of abusive relationships to make sure that to have a plan. We must have a plan.
Have a plan,
right? And you don't tell your abuser that you're leaving. Like you don't tell them that you're leaving.
Yeah. Roy seemed to have had a plan.
Yeah, but that is very true. That is very true. In that video with the woman, I mean, she was in that state of despair and all of that, and crying uncontrollably and all of that. But she said a few things there. She said to the very last, he was telling her, "No, no, I love you. I'm going to, I'm going to stay here with you." And he probably did that for a reason.
Classic misdirection.
He probably did that because he thought that is the only way he would have gotten an opportunity to leave.
Yeah.
Right? And it seems that he had a plan to leave. It's crazy as it is, but you don't. You must have a plan in order to leave an abusive relationship at all times, I have to say. And this goes both ways, and we're learning that by the current circulating video and all of that. This situation here, the LVI situation there, Quincy Roach, charged with murder and remanded. This young life gone to waste, and she was there at that stage of realization of what she was in. She realized
Correct.
that this is serious, this is dangerous. But you don't tell these people that you're leaving. Once you tell them that you're leaving, it ticks at a part of them that you would not be able to understand. That part of them that all logic goes out the door.
Wow. Again, so sad that Christina Dazel met her end in this gruesome fashion. A little too late for her. But it's such a time you can reflect. And as I heard Rita saying on the program this morning, what I was saying yesterday is that I didn't take what happened here for anybody else. When I see some of these things, I reflect on my own life. And being somebody who's in the public domain like we are doesn't exempt us from issues in our own relationships. It doesn't inoculate you. It doesn't immune you to that, because all relationships run on certain similar tracks, right? And you say, what is in this for me? Is this something? This is something I can learn from this. And you look at it and you see, I heard words, for instance, again, like narcissist and that kind of stuff, controlling, and you got to think about yourself, because you might think that you are the best person out in the world, but somebody look at you and say, you know what, X, Y, and Z.
You may not be a good match for each other.
Is it I, Lord? Is it I?
Yeah.
Is it I? That's what you look at and you submit. But again, so much more work as a society. This is one of the pandemics we have. Violence against women. Violence against women is one that we are struggling to come to terms with, struggling to deal with as a country, as a nation. Violence against women. And too many women, much too many women have met their demise at the hands of a man who should be loving them and protecting them. And, Judy, you always talk about looking for the signs. This young woman said, it's easy sometimes to say it when you're on the outside, but when you went in, talking about that, I heard another young woman, another issue similar, who had made a post on Twitter, and she said she never thought this would be her life. You see other girls in this situation, but she never thought. I think they think creeps up on you so subtly.
You see
If
the
it
signs.
come upon you suddenly, then you throw it off.
Yeah.
But it creeps up on you so subtly. You see the signs and you say, it's not really there. And then you make another allowance for it, you make an accommodation for it, and then you're in a full flung you know situationship.
You keep women particularly tend to keep collecting red flags, harvesting red flags, just getting it, put it there, push it up, you putting it in a box and tucking it on the way onto some bed or something. Women see the signs, and when you're in abusive relationships, you see every sign, you just ignore it, you just put it one side, you just think that it's something that you can work with, and you put yourself in a position that you have collected so many red flags. When you are at that sense of realization and an unveiling, is when you are so embedded in this relationship that it's extremely difficult for you to get out of it. You are with an abuser that knows your every weakness, they know your every avenue to escape, they know all of your friends, they know all of your family, they have complete control over what you do, who you talk to, if you go to work, if you go to church, every single thing they know. So when you're in that at that point now, it's almost impossible for you to just get up and leave. Especially they know who to contact if you are home late. They know your routine like the back of their hands, and that's why it's difficult when people get to that stage. You have to. We have, and there's a lot of women that is tactful, but but the majority of women need support. They need help when it comes to leaving to see those abusive situations, because the majority of women don't have the know-how in how to plan and to leave very quietly, and they don't have the means, more importantly, of a secure place to go. And that's the sad reality of how things are, so that's why when I looked at the video of the woman all distorted and stressed and crying and all of that, my only train of thought is, when people don't want to be with you, let them go. She was not in a situation in which Roy don't wants to be with her, so he is physically abusing her or things like that, because he don't want to be there or whatever. He wants to leave. He wants let him
Let him
go.
go. Let him go.
Let him go.
There's life beyond that. There's life beyond that. I know sometimes when you're in it, you can't see it.
Yeah.
Right.
The majority of times, I think there's a bit of science, Sherrod.
You talk about signs when you see the signs, and I remember, is it my Angelo who's credited with saying, when people show you who they are,
believe them.
Believe them the first time.
Yep, you
believe them the first time, and you see the signs, you ignore it to your own peril. But there's just one issue we're following on the similar track with Tessina Dalzell and the perpetrator, the man she loved, Quincy Roach. Starbuck News had a bit to talk about women in general this morning and how we treat with women in our society, and the work really and truly that is ahead of us. The work that is ahead of us in terms of curtailing some of this trouble that we see with women, some of the violence and abuse in the community of women that we have. And they talked about, for instance, how the police force responds. So when a woman comes and make a complaint, we often say there, oh, they get the man and woman story. They talk about the intervention of the court. That a man gets charged, for instance, for some white collar crime. Quite recently, they provided the names. 6 years, and a man who brutally murders a woman gets 7 years. And they ask the question, Starbuck News asks the question, what is the value of the life of a woman? When if you pickpocket, you can get 4 years. If you murder a woman, you can get 4 years.
Yeah.
Right? And in this editorial, they tell us this. It is not only the police force that needs to take stock of itself. While domestic violence is a crime, It is also a worldwide societal ill, which is a pandemic. It's a societal ill. And if it is to be truly curbed, then every institution, in every, in fact, every citizen, all of you listening to us today, has a role to play. The same way we teach children to beware of predators, we should be training them to pay attention to certain predilections. And this again is what Rita spoke about, the signs.
Yeah.
Look out for predators. You know, people offer you candy, don't take things from strangers, don't let people touch your private parts, that kind of stuff. The same way,
yeah,
we have to pay attention to certain predilections. We have to pay attention to the signs of, the onstart of abuse, of what is going to be a tumultuous relationship. Because I'm assuming there's a period of courtship.
Yeah.
And you see certain things. You don't just, happen into a relationship, bam, and you don't know who this fella is. The old song say, take time to know her.
Yeah. There's always a first time when someone asks to see your phone to check your message. There's always a first time. And then you see it as, oh, I don't have anything to hide, so why not, And then it moves from them requesting to see your phone to them believing that it is their right to go through your phone, see your messages. And it moves for them from that to them scrutinizing and questioning every message between your mother, you and your sister, you and your father, you and whatever it is, you and your friends, because they want to have absolute control of your life and the way in which you live it. Right? I had my own experience, and I remember at one particular time, because I can share from a personal standpoint. I could remember one particular time, I was with someone, and that was a request, for me to open my phone. And I'm gonna tell you, like, that never happened. That was the beginning of the end. That was not gonna happen.
Yeah, red flag.
Yes, because you get to a point that you understand that you do not enable these abusers to continue with the nonsense. You do not give them the ability and the opportunity to think that they can carry on with you with that.
Yeah, and you know what? I see people go to the other extreme. People clone your phone and have some app that can read your message. The lengths people go to, follow you on social media to see what you comment on, who posts you like, who like you post. People have a lot of time.
Because these people have a little bit of mental issues, Listen, we have to understand that there are subtle things, there are some extremes, and there are people that are narcissists and they're to an extreme, and there are persons with narcissistic tendencies that are not to those extremes. Right? And it's all falling under the same category, whether it's the soft traits or hardcore traits of a narcissist. We have to pinpoint it and go and just identify it and just get out of it. Somebody that have to clone your phone, if somebody is cloning your phone, you run like hell from that relationship. You run from it. And the very fact is that once you have to clone your partner's phone, the relationship is already over.
Yeah.
Right? That relationship is no more. You're just wasting time with each other.
Yeah.
Right? You're just waiting for a blowout and an episode. No, don't do it. Don't be in that. We have to. All the advice that we can give comes down to one thing. Everything sums up to one thing. Whether or not, when young people go out there and they make decisions and they're in relationships and all of those things, whether or not they have a personal fallback for themselves. That's what it comes down to, whether or not they have the ability and they have that resource to just leave.
Yeah.
So that's how, but we have to work on that.
We do. And again, to echo Starbuck News, I love the fact you said we, because they make the point as well. It's all of us.
It's all of us.
Right? It's the court when these people are apprehended and brought before the courts. It is society, as in the churches, the government through policies, the churches through some programs they might have, counseling, all of that. And I'm not only I'm talking about the churches universally, NGOs, Each and every one of us as citizens got a role to play in terms of attacking this issue head on, tackle it head on, and you never let people feel as though they're comfortable doing this kind of stuff. You
Yeah.
know, hitting people and trying to control people and playing mind games. You know, there are lots of ways you can spend your time. Personally, Teresa talked about personally. Personally, I felt I've spent too much time on relationships as against self growth and that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right? But that could only happen if you're reflecting on your life, reflecting on how you spent your time, respecting what you
Yeah.
give your time to and your energy and your focus to.
God,
You know?
you could have been sometimes when you look at these things, because I can look at the failures of relationships that I have had before, the failed relationships, and that I've had before, and I can say honestly that if I had used that time for business and so on, it would
Yeah.
have been different, So
Yeah. But you live, you learn. You
yes,
live, you learn. Let's
yeah,
turn our attention, folks. Let's turn our attention to Heritage Month and the fact that we're celebrating
yeah.
our Indigenous brothers and sisters. I'm celebrating myself too because we got Indigenous blood in us.
I'm
My
celebrating
father
myself. My
has
father is
Indigenous.
completely indigenous.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so we're privileged like that. Unlike y'all, we got all six people. My
Yeah.
great grandfather came from Hong Kong,
Mm,
my grandmother's side, and he was Chung.
mm,
She's Chung, and then for my father's side, we got indigenous blood in us. So we got African, and we got some Indian folks in our family. My sister's married Pandey, my aunt is married Narayan, some another aunt is married Singh,
mm.
and so I got nieces and nephews who, he said the hair straight, right? You wouldn't tell,
You
and
wouldn't know.
right, you wouldn't
You
know,
can
you wouldn't
send them in,
know,
sure. You can
and
send
that
them
is
in.
how this country is, because you don't know who you're talking to, right? Some folks assume, they look at my nephews and say, well, them is one away, so you talk down about black people and
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff, but you don't
Yeah.
know.
You don't
You
know.
understand me? And if I might give you this, I don't want to say too much, but because he has to live his own life too. I have my nephew. One of them is well, my nephews are Indian,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he is attracted to Indian girls, nicely so. But the problem comes when you go home.
Mm.
Problem comes when you get introduced to mommy
Mm.
and realize mommy's black, and then
Oh wow.
love now has a complexion,
Mm.
you know, because how you can carry this family home by you, and so you
Yeah.
know, the real challenges in this country, real challenges. That's why it's important again to give reference to what Sabbath said, how you rear your children,
Mm-hmm.
your outlook, because children, they don't want to be a certain way. You don't born racist and all that, but they grow up in families where you hear a black man and coolie man, and you hear those pejorative terms, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then now you're faced with a situation head on. Black people have to rule we and this and that.
Mm.
On both sides, you got all this foolishness people
Yeah.
grew up hearing and not knowing that mediocrity and incompetence and so on is not limited to any ethnicity,
Yeah.
you know. But it's based on how people are socialized. Racism is not based on any ethnicity. It goes across the board again. But again, it's how people are socialized. And then people have a real world experience now when you think, because we live in enclaves, don't let us fool ourselves. We live in enclaves. That's why you got villages that traditionally vote one way and villages that traditionally vote another way. And so you live among your own people. That's normal, it's acceptable. But when you go out of that, you don't know how to operate. It's like when some folks are kids and you allow your kids to operate anyway home, and when they go out and they're jumping in the seat and they're loud and they're throwing a
No,
tantrum
you're
and so on,
embarrassed.
you're embarrassed.
Mm. I'm
You
not
know?
sure, and I don't have them problems.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know what's wrong with
You
you.
don't behave so.
Just
You
behave
don't
just like
behave
that.
so.
Just behave just like, and that is why, for instance, when we see the Imran Satars of this world, you see Imran think the world is one way. And when Imran gets upset, he lashes out. And what is his reference point? What he knows. Paisnal out and black man and black. That's what he knows. Right? And when you get braced against the wall, is when silence come out. You understand me? And so we got a lot of work to do. And together though, together as a country, we can make it. We can make it. Together as a country, if we shun the mistakes of the past, right? And we forge ahead together, we can make it. Indigenous Heritage Month. And our brothers and sisters, my lord, this administration.
Mm.
So it's Indigenous Heritage Month, but we're
Just
still dealing with issues, for instance.
state of the region, you know.
Yep, yep, yep.
Etherin Bank, for example, they are in region number
I
7, still
talk
on
to
the
us.
water, still don't
Yep,
have medical
yep,
supplies
yep.
and all
Why
of
is
those
that?
things.
Why these things are always taking us by
Mm.
supply, by surprise rather? So we know it's in the age of climate change. We've had 2 or 3 floods
Mm-hmm.
since 2020, and but like the next one still surprises us. Is like when supply is coming in. When this is going to happen, when that's going to happen. It's the same foolishness over and over. You don't want to be against governance and government and whoever installing all of that. They got to do what they got to do. But when it impacts on human lives, that is where the trouble starts. And as Richard said rightfully, Ittering, Bang, and those areas, we're still covering it. We're still covering quite a few of them. And the challenges that are occurring in those areas, we've been chronicling them here. If you add Ittering, Bang to Region 7, you got the Isenaru issue there in Region 7, the mining issue. And I heard, is it Region 7 or Region 8? I saw Zulfikar Mustafa, the installed Minister of Agriculture, went and say, oh, this region is more than mining.
Mm.
But it is mining too, and they got a lot of problems in mining that y'all are fixing.
Well, and then we're still
It's either 7 or 8 he was in.
and then we're missing the issue also with Ramadan and the secondary school there and the unbothered children who are left with
Yeah,
to eat and all of that.
yeah,
But
yeah,
obviously
yeah,
those issues goes through the door, and when there's nice
yeah.
speeches and all of those
Well, this is the
things
Mountain
happening.
Nice speeches and
Oh
photographs.
yes, it started already.
Yeah, Mountain Nice speeches
I
and
saw
photographs.
I saw none other than Pauline Sakai, there, at actually welcoming in well actually they had an interfaith, I believe, service to kickstart the month. And I looked at her there and I said, you have to have some type of gall to go there
Yeah,
after you said there's nothing more
yeah.
we can do for Chinese landing.
Nothing more we can do for Chinese landing. The area there always, I love the name. Is it um, Terra something? What's the name of the area there? Beautiful name. I'll get to it in a second. That the problem is that it's Chinese landing, but it's the community there, the Carib community there is affected by this problem there in Chinese landing. You got the Akawayos that are affected by the issue in Isenaru. Then you got Little Kanubali in Moruco Region 1 had some leadership challenges. People spending all the money, don't want accountability. It's the PPP folks. And then Morudi got some issues too there. Morudi in the deep south. You got Wiki Kalkun in Region 10. You got Hururi Region 10 as well. These communities where our indigenous brothers and sisters inhabit. Folks. I heard you just say something the other day. We were having a discussion of set, off here on this issue. And she said, our indigenous brothers and sisters in this country seem to be treated just above animals, just above that of an animal, you know. And where we're at the grand city business, for business
Yeah.
in indigenous community, they don't want businesses too. They don't want thriving establishments too.
Well, that's the whole
Oh,
thing.
okay.
We must take stock of it, because I did note, like I told you, so there was a particular troll, if I'm not mistaken, was there, a spectator that found it hilarious for the idea of indigenous people owning businesses. He said, and I quote, "It's going to what's going to happen to the culture," you know. And when you think about
Yeah, yeah,
when you
yeah.
can think about a
Indian
people,
people have a rich culture,
that's what I was,
from the
that's what we
motherland,
have
a
to
rich
speak
culture,
about.
but they're major business owners.
Mm-mm.
African Guyanese, from
Mm.
their motherland, you know, and they got big businesses too. So why should our indigenous brothers and sisters be any less, you know? It's interesting. It's interesting. This is stereotypes again, because of how we raise the communities that we socialize in, and the world is such a beautiful, fantastic place. You got to get out of those enclaves. You got to get out of those boxes that you live in. There's a whole big world spinning outside there. A big world spinning outside, and you know what? Maybe when you're Ryan, you see the big world outside, you realize, I ain't want this box. That big auntie got me in here. It's more than just this. right? It's more than just
and
this. I
that
want to
is
do more with my life.
and that is his right.
Yeah.
That is, and everybody,
Yep.
we have to you know, I spoke to my brother with the whole discussion we are having about indigenous people not being given opportunities when it comes to owning businesses and stuff like that. And I spoke to my brother and I asked him, I said, name the rich indigenous person you know in Guyana.
Mm-hmm.
Who is that person?
Mm-hmm.
Who is this wealthy indigenous person?
Mm-hmm.
You just name one of them. And let's move forward with the discussion from there. So unless you're telling me that 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 there was a decision that this entire ethnic group must not be given an opportunity to excel when it comes to business, then I don't know what else you're telling me. We have
Wow.
to we have to move to a
Wow.
point that opportunities are given to those people,
Yep. Yep.
right?
You said it. You said it correctly. You said it correctly. We got to move beyond platitudes and really, truly move towards empowering people
Yes,
in a meaningful
exactly.
way. And if we want to do that, we'll be very concerned with what's happening in Senaru, in Chinese Landing, in
Mhm.
Marudi, right?
And who made a decision that that people
Tassawini is
don't
the name of the
have?
place.
Oh well,
Tassawini, right?
I could not remember what you were trying to get
Yes.
to there.
We're going to be concerned because the people have the capacity. It's right beneath their feet, Jurita.
Yeah. And then people need to remove the idea from their head. Let me tell you something, because I have had the unique opportunity to associate, mix work with persons in the hinterland and associate and mix with people at the highest level
Mm-hmm.
in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I have had the opportunity to deal with have working relations with persons in the hinterland, and I have had the opportunity to have working relations with people in Georgetown on the coastland, centrally. The most brilliant mind that I have come across when it comes to technological advancement came from someone in the hinterland,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
The most brilliant mind that
Yep.
and I have spoken to and dealt with persons with the likes of the big companies that you would know here in the city and so forth. You know them. You know these people. And I can tell you that there are things that they can do
Mm-hmm.
that that
Mm-hmm.
particular individual could. What stops him from getting the same access to
Yeah.
resources
Yeah.
to expand and to strive
Yeah.
beyond that of what it seems to be the level that people say that you can't go above this? I have an issue with that. I believe that it is time for us to find a unique balance and to understand the importance of preservation of culture, preservation of the foods, the languages, the music, all that comes with culture. Let us preserve all of that, but at the same time, let us not decide for an entire group of people, an entire ethnic group of people, that they cannot move above a
Yeah.
certain level in a land
I
that
love
people
the way you
came
said.
and meet them in.
I love the way you said because it was Errol Barrow, who is the or was rather the former Prime Minister of Barbados, Errol Barrow, who said when Guyana's constitution was suspended in 1953 by the British, in responding to that, he said, no nation, however powerful, can drop an indictment against an entire people. And it is spot on in keeping with the nation of our indigenous brothers and sisters. You cannot drop an indictment and say, oh, this is the limitation. Oh, and they try to do us to us too, as Afro-Guyanese, as mixed as we are. They try to do it to us, to put limitations. Oh, this is the box you must stay in and be in. But I ain't going in no box.
Exactly.
I ain't going in no
Mhm.
box. Even if they're like a bunman scatty dash. I ain't going in no box.
You see, we see so many groupings out there, and I have, of course, I'm speaking from a position of experience. I'm speaking from the position of my father being completely indigenous. My father was at one point a Tushaw of an indigenous community. I'm speaking from a position of knowledge. I'm not guessing my way around here. And there is so much that we see out there when it comes to ethnic groupings and the way in which persons put themselves together, they form groups and so forth, and they advocate for their people to make sure that they have access to certain things and so forth. So when is I think the time is now. Let me just not put it any other way. The time is now for my indigenous brothers and sisters in the literal and figurative sense to put themselves together and have groupings that are not dictated by government of no sort, no government, that are not dictated by government, so that they can advocate for the equitable opportunities to go out there. When you're having all the big meetings, and Sherrod, when all the big meetings are being had, you have the
Tell us.
Agri Expo, you
Yep,
have you
yep.
have the is it the oil and gas expo that was done, the energy expo that was there, and all of that? Where was the representation being made for indigenous people at that level that goes beyond protecting their natural habitat, which is not being protected
Yeah,
based
yeah,
on what you see in Chinese landing and all of
yeah,
that? Where is the inclusion of those people when it comes to
yep,
getting a piece of the pie and
yeah,
moving forward with the wealth of the
yeah.
nation that people came and reached them here with?
You know what is going to happen. You know what's going to happen. They're getting the piece of the pie. People telling them they deserve. That's what's happening. There is no consultation happening, meaningfully or otherwise, with our indigenous brothers and sisters. You hear, you're getting 100 million for something. Who tell you that's what they want?
That's my
Who
point.
tell you that's what they want? Right? They want to mine the lands that beneath their feet and to live off of the sweat of the brow from doing that. But you say, oh, they want solar things, so you go and you get solar, you get without talking to anybody. Right? But that is the modus operandi of some people. Look at the Natural Resource Fund Board. They put a man there and say he's the opposition man. You understand? You put somebody there and say, right? And then look, the very people they're putting up to say that they represent the indigenous brothers and sisters, the chairman of the National Teachers Council, Tasawini, Chinese landing is a burning issue. He said indigenous celebrations will prevent the council from investigating the human rights violation. There, you got to wait till afterwards.
Well, that is why I said just
The,
now.
the PPP fella.
That is why I said just now that a grouping needs to be put together when it comes to dealing with the business interests of indigenous people. And this is not something I'm going to drop. So let me just put that out
Don't
there
drop
right
it.
now. This is not something I'm going to drop.
Don't drop it.
Now is the time. Now is the time.
Now is.
Right? A grouping needs to be put together when it comes to dealing with the business interests of indigenous people, and it must not have any interference by government. And I'm not saying it shouldn't have any interference by the PVP government. I'm saying it shouldn't have interference by any government whatsoever out there. Right? We have to get to a point in which we understand why is it important to have these makeup in that way. What you were speaking about there, the issue there is because of the heavy government involvement when it comes to the council and how the council is operated and put together and who are the representatives.
Correct.
No, we don't want anything like that. I believe that my indigenous brothers and sisters, I believe the indigenous peoples of this country needs to have representation made when it comes to themselves being given the opportunity to decide and have the platform to move forward and say, I want to have a better life and I want to direct my life in this path. Nobody should decide that is not for them.
Yep. That's where we are.
Preservation of culture is way different, Sharon.
Correct.
We can preserve culture while having an excellent life.
Correct.
We can preserve our culture. We would be more empowered to preserve our culture if we are financially capable of elevating ourselves.
And our
and
Indian
our
brothers and
standards of
sisters do
living.
it
That's my point.
all the time.
Them being wealthy doesn't mean that their culture is going down the drain. Is that what you're telling me? But don't come with a nonsense conversation when it comes to cultural preservation and all of that. Don't bring that.
Yep. But you see, in this discussion about one Guyana, You know, it got
Mm.
different connotations, different meanings to different
I
people,
wonder what
depends
the
on who you
oneness in the
ask.
resources that is
You
to be
know,
dispersed,
one man could look at this country and feel, equal rights and this government has done
Mm.
well in terms of human rights issues and so on. Another man says, emerging apartheid state.
Yeah. Where is the indigenous
Right.
company that is set up to do the road works and so forth?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And
Hmm.
empowering our brothers and sisters.
And it's gonna be breaking their culture if what if somebody if they do the road, but if somebody else come and do the road, it's not interfering with their culture. We have to move forward from a position that we racism is it's sometimes we just touch the surface of the discussion when we talk about racism. But racism in its core, when it comes to the way in which our country is set up, I have seen the indigenous people of Guyana being treated in the most violent, racist of manner,
Yeah.
and that's just a blatant truth. People
Yeah.
can argue it however they want, but unless you have been in it, you
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to speak of
But
it.
I heard a fellow who touts himself and holds himself out to be an academic say recently that if anybody has to feel that they've been violated racially and they've been violated, by any system of apartheid and so on, it's the Indian brothers and sisters in this country. And I
I
don't,
don't have time to
yeah,
listen to
yeah,
nonsense. I'm at the point in my life that I just kind of blank out the ignorance, because that what was said there just goes to show someone giving up even the decent the respect that they have for themselves, especially when they tout themselves as an academic. You know, we know out there all the slangs and slogans, the insulting words and phrases that is
yeah.
put towards indigenous people. This is not something that nobody can deny. For some, there was a large part of my life growing up that I had to cope with and deal with the fact that when you talk about indigenous people, the word buck is associated with, and apparently that word was associated with not having sense and not knowing what to do and all of that. This has been my lived experience, having to fight that stereotype. That is racism at its core. And you know what's the sad part? It came from both of the other dominant races in our country. You know, they fight each other and then they come and they collectively push that same energy towards the indigenous people of our country. Racism is real, and it is my position right now. I'm telling you that it is my position that when it comes to wealth and the distribution of wealth, no person should be dictating how much goes to the indigenous people. They must be given the platform that they have equal access to the resources of this land, and they must be given the equal opportunity to go out there, the equitable opportunity to go out
Mm-hmm,
there
mm-hmm.
and build wealth. Until that is so, then don't go to
Yeah,
them and tell
yeah.
them that you have their best interest
Are
at
we
heart.
one Guyana where we are partners in the development of this great nation, or you just want photo opportunities, and a nice sounding slogan, but it rings hollow?
Yeah. Hmm.
And that's the choice we gotta make. And that's why I'm saying we can't wait till next year, independence, for a big speech. Where we going and where we there? First day of September, and as individuals, we have an opportunity to look and see how we've lived, and as a country, as a government, and say what course correction we could take. We need to defend women more. We need to protect women more. We won't be able to do that successfully if the very people who are tasked with protecting them themselves are abusers. And too often, that's the situation in this government and administration. Too often.
That is
Police
correct.
officers abuse their spouses as well. Then how are you going to feel for the woman who comes and say, my husband beat me? Because you beat your wife and you think that's well and good too. That is the party challenge that we have. But we can't wait. We can't. This country needs such a radical shaking up. And if your fun could only throw off the vestiges of old, it could be a great install president.
Hmm.
But he tied to everything that's wrong with this country. Sue in the living room, getting all the deals.
Making the
making
arrangements.
the arrangements.
Mm-hmm.
You know, who the most money passing hand with in this country in the black market? So indigenous brothers and sisters. And they're too busy outside of fighting for the land. In their own village, they can't even walk some places.
Mm-hmm.
You know, too busy
Irfan
with that.
said, as he made his big announcement that as he made his big announcement of the $1 million per person for the 600 persons there with the house lots. As he made his big announcement, he said and that they have done an assessment and the cost for the average home built in that community is $3 million. So he's going to give them $1 million. And it is crazy that that is something that he said, like, oh well, the people here, their house don't cost more than $3 million. Let's move on with our life.
How much does his house cost?
That is a question. That is
You
the
know what is
question.
even more startling to me when I heard that, a little more into that very
So you have been
video.
subjected to a $3 million house. That's what he was basically saying there. That he's subjecting you to a $3 million house because you said he's gonna give you $1 million there. That's what he said. But you know my position on this. And then he also said that the banks now he spoke to the banks and they're going to give loans for the $2 million. He's basically saying that this community, we don't have the interest in anybody else that is moving forward.
I wonder too, as he made an announcement, he said 600 families
Mm-hmm.
who receive those house lots. And I'm wondering if in those families there are 600 people who are bringing home at least $14,000 a month to pay back. Because he said the loan, you'd have to pay back about $14,000 a month.
Well, I'm already aware the persons are for a lot of people who got the land trying to sell it back already because of they're in desperate need of money.
Wow.
But I'm telling I'll encourage persons not to go down that route, don't do that.
Ownership of land and ownership in general is important.
Keep it. Yeah,
It's
I
an empowering
understand the
feeling.
state.
Empowering feeling. Very much so. That looks like it's going to do it for us this end.
Yeah,
the time just ran out there.
This could be a
It's
very
Heritage
lengthy.
Month, folks.
Yeah.
Find some way to be part of the celebration.
Yeah.
And celebrate. Let us celebrate together our indigenous brothers and sisters. They are part of our country and an important part of our country at that.
Yeah.
We're important, Rita.
Correct. That's how it is.
So find a way to celebrate. Happy Heritage Month, folks. Last is going to be happening in the indigenous communities around. I think a lot of the communities have their own heritage celebrations. There's always something to look forward to.
Yep.
You get a taste of different cultures and so on, and the tomato pot and everything else that goes with it. The real pepper pot.
Not the fake ones.
The real pepper pot. I owe another trip to Region 9 and Lethem
that's a good month to do it.
Developing very nicely on the coalition. I don't know what it looks like now.
They did walk on the paved road and so on and went and tell the people that the coalition didn't do anything for them.
Yeah.
They're different.
Yeah. All kinds of things you got to deal with. All kinds of things. But good to see so many of you outside today. Hope you guys are enjoying lunch or enjoyed lunch or will enjoy lunch. People do lunch differently. Try something indigenous. Find an indigenous recipe and celebrate. Don't only go and cook up all the time. Cook up. Cook up on curry. Cook something for the indigenous people.
That is so true.
I want to learn one of the indigenous dialects,
Yeah,
There's
well,
so
a lot
many.
of work was done under the coalition administration and the radio stations that were open in the hinterland communities. Region 9 in particular, they had a program in which they were teaching the language through the radio.
Yeah. We did a lot of good things.
A
lot of good things. But as we said, that's going to do it for us at this end, folks.
Yep.
That's going to do it for us at this end. Good to have had so many of you with us. Folks, stay safe. We're going to see you right back here in the ring this evening. Final program for the day. Tomorrow's Friday. Tomorrow's Friday is Open Mic Friday tomorrow.
Correct.
So, all the issues that bothered you this week, we want to hear from you tomorrow. Open mic. Good to see you guys there. Marilyn Thomas. How you doing, Marilyn? Candy Energy. How you all doing, man? Spectator. How are you?
I expect the ones, the
All the other
indigenous
guys
people
in the
to remain
diaspora.
at
Hope
a
the weather's good.
specific level.
Yeah. Never mind, spectators well paid for the troll job he's doing.
I'm saying.
Yeah. Well paid. Yep. Good to have had you here, folks. That's going to do it for us. Have a fantastic rest of the afternoon. See you guys back this evening. Twitter.
Have a good day, guys. It was a good discussion. Have a blessed remainder